Mirko Belagic, the kid's boss, had been hanging back under the arch, waiting for the all-clear. So, when Dalton took out the bodyguard, the wily old Serb flinched a half-step back and reached into his Briony topcoat. But by then, Dalton had the muzzle of his Ruger up against the man's barrel chest. "Da, crocodile," he grunted, as if his most depressing expectations for the evening had just been grimly confirmed. Dalton stepped out into the faint glow from the lights of the piazza, his face stony and a green spark in his pale blue eyes, his long blonde hair pulled back from his hard-planed face. He was wearing a blue Zegna topcoat, black leather gloves, and a navy blue turtleneck. So, in the dim light from the piazza, he looked like a skull floating in the shadows. The snow was sifting down, a curtain of powdered glass, diamond-lit by a sickle moon. Their frozen breath hung in the still air between them, a pale glowing mist slowly rising up. "Crocodile, you wait now just a bit," the old man said, in a flat, steady voice, no quaver, not begging, just making a suggestion, as if they were arranging to meet for drinks. "Not too late for you. We talk." "No, we don't," said Dalton softly, squeezing the trigger once, popping around into the old man's chest, about an inch below his left nipple. The old man staggered back, his roast beef face losing color and his mouth gaping open. He plunged his hand into his coat and brought out a small stainless steel revolver, which Dalton easily plucked from the man's gnarled, arthritic hand. He threw it into the alley behind him. It struck and skittered across the frozen cobbles with a dull metallic clatter. Belagic stared at Dalton for a time, blinking slowly, then pulled his suit jacket to the side and looked down at his shirt, where a black stain around a tiny frayed hole was starting to spread open like a black poppy. He put a meaty palm over it, winced, looked back at Dalton, his breath now coming in short, sharp puffs as his lungs slowly collapsed. The expression on his face wasn't fear or even anger. He looked offended. "I am stabbed? Mirko Belagic is dying?" "Cora Vasari," said Dalton, and had his suspicions confirmed by the flicker of recognition in Belagic's face, a fleeting muscular contraction around the old man's left eye, a blue vein flaring in his neck, gone in an instant. "I was nothing with that. That was gospic." Dalton reached out and plucked a small razor cell phone out of Belagic's breast pocket, beeped it on, and handed it back to Belagic, who looked confused. "Make a call." Belagic blinked at Dalton, his wrinkled face closing up. "Call? Call who?" "You've just been shot, Mirko. Call out your people." Belagic blinked at Dalton for a while longer, trying to make sense of the words, then looked down and pressed in a number using both fat thumbs, and lifted the phone to his ear. Glaring into Dalton's eyes, he spoke rapidly into the handset, a low growl in gutter Serbian, ending with a harsh, coughing curse that included the name crocodile more than a couple of times. He snapped the phone shut, still locked on Dalton, a killing stare. 12 years ago, over a disagreement with an obscenely overweight son-in-law regarding the distribution of the proceeds from an opium paste for Sam's deal with the Chechens, Belagic had made a point about greed, gluttony, gratitude by throwing the man, naked and bound hand and foot, into a small feed pen filled with hungry boars. As the story goes, in spite of their best efforts, the animals took several days to rip away everything considered tasty to a boar. In the process, the fat man's shrieks grew so pitiful that Mirko himself got up from a large family dinner with his steak knife in hand and went out back to the barn to slice the man's voice box so his screams wouldn't upset the grandkids, one of whom was the victim's only son, a 10-year-old lad named Zakari. Belagic doted on the boy, and as an act of mercy, suspended the ancient